Okay, so just thought I'll let you join me for some painting tonight. Just doing my late 17th century armies. So I need to put the blue on that. But at the moment we're focusing on the white brims. Then I'll go over it again with the probably can't see much at the scale we're at, so I'll move it in slightly. And the idea is I'm just doing the white brimmed hats, and then I'll go over the hats again with black so I can get the whites really down to a minimal, because I'm just sort of slurping on a bit at the moment so that it's just you've got a good line, but the traditional or the historical, it wouldn't have been as thick as this, so it's just should be a slight line along the top, but you want it quite pronounced because obviously at this scale things like the white brims will disappear in the event if it's not too bright, which probably wasn't as bright as this in reality. I wouldn't have thought. I might be wrong, but two, if you don't do it quite bright, then at this scale, once it gets on tabletop, it'll disappear. So I'm using quite a brilliant white at the moment, which is probably say not quite the right colour for 17th century white, but or linen or whatever it would have been that they put around the edge of their hats. But I'll just do it at the moment, and then I'll go around with a black paint, a fine brush, just take the edges off it so it's nice and neat trim on their wide brimmed hats. I've yet to really sort them out into regiments and such, because I've got to do all the facings, get all that organised. And I'll speak to you shortly about the rules I'm probably going to use as either the old George Gush, which I've had over the years. I don't know if you can see that, but over the years I've had various copies of George Gush's rules, and but they do an Amazon print now, edited by John Curry, which is in large font, which is great for people like me at my age, although I'm only middle-aged, but certainly the generation that I am now struggle with this sort of prints of yesteryear. So it's either that one or it's which is probably the one I'm going to go with, is Fields of Glory Renaissance. And the scales you can use, you can either do it as the Musketeers they use the WRG basing, so everything's on is it 4 centimetre base wide width. It's a DBM basing basically, and then they have but the Musketeers can either be, because it's the element or the base which is important, not necessarily the amount of troops you have on it. But yeah, you can either have them on 3s, so 3 Musketeers to a base, or you have them as 4s. Don't know if you can see them here. So that would be a 3. And as you say, they seem to promote it quite a lot as threes, or you have it as a four like that. Obviously, you save quite a lot of money if you have them as threes, so I probably will base them as threes. Because this isn't really a major project. This is although it will probably take quite a lot of expenditure and things, but it's not a major project. It's a side project. So I think I'll put them as threes. But the thing with the George Gush rules, they do allow for more sort of skirmish type things, because although they're at 20-1, I think they are, their scale, they do rules for sieges and sort of storming buildings and so forth, which a lot of rules wouldn't do that. So, and what it does allow you for have is single figures. So I may go with the George Gush, because quite a lot in the, although there was Sedgemoor, there was a pitched battle, quite a lot of the interesting conflict, quite a lot of the interesting engagements were fairly small. Both the rebellion in Scotland under Argyll and under Duke of Monmouth. Duke of Argyll and Duke of Monmouth. I did say in the last presentation, the Fireside one that I did, or a previous Fireside one, the first Fireside one, that Argyll's motives were actually slightly different. The church in Scotland, the politics in Scotland was slightly different, and as a result of the sort of revolutionary changes in Scotland, Argyll actually lost out quite a bit. So his revolution was quite personalised, and it was sort of to try and take back his traditional rights, properties and land and so forth, which I think had been taken from him. So Argyll wasn't necessarily supporting Monmouth. He was kind of a bit out for himself, but both of them had James the Second as their James the Second as their kind of leader of the opposition, if you like. Mainly Argyll's opposition was the I get modelled up here. The is it the MacDonalds? Is it, or the but certainly the Argyll was a Campbell. So when William came to power, the Campbells benefited. William of Orange, that is. But prior to that, the Catholic or the not too sure of my facts here, but yeah, the Catholic clans benefited more so from James, and they actually went on to become the Jacobites. So Argyll was more of a Protestant allegiance than and that's why perhaps he had lost out so much and come back to try and take back his family right and inheritance and that kind of thing. But of course, once the revolution of 1688 had concluded, the Campbells then started doing a lot better in terms of having the ear of the the monarch and so forth. Well, probably wasn't the heir of the monarch, but certainly the influence in Scotland and support of the monarch, of what was to become the United Kingdom. I've got to get my colours right for the Highlanders, that's the other thing. I don't know if you can see over the back there, but there's a lot of undercoated Highlanders, and these are all irregular Highlanders. These are Donington dismounted dragoons. The back here again is more irregular Highlanders. Sorry, can't see it very well, but these are regular Highlanders, and then over the very back is the horse, irregular. Yeah, I think it's all irregular horse there. So that's what's on the table. Right. This is where we're heading with our. Oh, I don't know if I can. That's where we're heading. So as you see, I'm just doing the white, the white brims, but they're a bit thick at the moment, so I will tone them down. Right. That was done. Well, I mentioned previously the pikes. I can find you an example of the pikes. Let me finish doing many of them. Yeah, that guy there. So these are the ones that came at port, and I sort of bent their arm. Some of them I bent their arms a bit, but like this guy, I bent his arm, this arm down, and then made his arm more receiving for the pipe. But these are the guys who are at port. And then I bought a load who are at the. Oh no, these are all guys which, to say, I'm on the process of painting, but they've all got the. I've changed bent their arms so that to accommodate a more ordered posture. But I've also bought a load of irregular ones who are actually, you don't get these in the army packs, but they're at the order, so they're a lot easier to paint at the order. Right. So you've got the Battle of the Boyne as well, so you could enlist these armies for the Battle of Boyne, and then there's also Tangiers, and there's a number of colonial episodes which armies of this period or distress could feature. And in fact, some of the units that were brought over for the rebellions, be it Monmouth, Argyle, or later's Battle of Killiecrankie and beyond, were actually from Tangiers. They'd previously been to Tangiers. And obviously what you also bear in mind is that the army at Sedgemoor, and that was mobilised for Scotland, the Scottish Argyll's revolt. There was a lot more troops around and being brought in with the news of the rebellion. So although they didn't all feature in the battles, the actual country, by the time of the Battle of Sedgemoor, which was the last battle of the two rebellions, it was awash with mobilised either militia or government troops being brought in from all the various places. This one hasn't done much on that. So yeah, so sort of make some progress in these guys, and then I've got, I say, an awful lot more to do with my Napoleonics, but because I've said last time in my discussions that I a bit scatterbrain. Well, I'm calming down and we get these guys done best I can. I'm getting focused again. One thing I did notice in my a number of my videos is that at times when, cause I'm not that used to speaking to a camera or even public speaking generally, I do notice at times that I choose the wrong word to describe what I mean. And so sometimes you think, what on earth are you on about? And but it's unbeknown, unfortunately, when you do solo wargaming or solo presentations, unless you've got time, which I don't have to edit and do a lot of reviewing and cutting and all that kind of thing and redrafting, then it's a one-hit wonder really. And unfortunately, whether I suppose it's the stress of speaking continually and looking for words to describe what you mean at very short notice. Sometimes I've noticed I choose words that are not really describing what I mean. So I dare say a lot of people do that because when they're not out of comfort zones, I enjoy doing it, but doing something which they're not they don't do very regularly, and also they're not that experienced at doing it. So, and as I say, I like doing things as much as I can be amateur with a capital A than trying to put gloss on my presentations. I mean, I do things like the Fireside thing, it's quite fun, but it's quite easy to do for me because it's obviously, but I'm not really into making my channel glossy or in any way commercial or presenting as though it's commercial. So, and I really couldn't care too much whether I gain or lose in terms of people watching, because some people will like it, I'm sure, and if they don't, well, it's a good video diary for me. But and I think it's a good, I say, there are times when I should do more, but I think it's good to just, even if you haven't got a lot to say, just get the camera rolling and say there's always something. It's quite incredible how someone somewhere will find what you're going to say or what you do interesting. It's one of the wonders of YouTube, I think, really. You can categorize your interest area by your search, and then you can watch or be part or join or watch a community of people, or create a community of people from what you do. And I mean, years ago it was small ads, wasn't it, where you would find out about things, and you'd buy a magazine of the interest area you got, and then you'd have to turn to the back page and see the small ads to see any clubs and so forth. There was no, the time frame, the time it took to research was just so, well, although that said, with the internet, the research is a bit different because it's not necessarily accurate. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, the years ago, you'd be dependent on the small ads or the word of mouth, even, to join clubs or know that there was something going on. And to find out, you'd have to go to the library about uniforms and things like that, or buy a book, And that's why Osprey, for my generation, was so good. And I remember when I bought my English War Armies in 15mm when I was younger, and a lot were instigated from the initial Osprey book. And then there was a Philip Haythwaite or something who did an English Civil War book, which was very good in the 80s and 90s, maybe. Probably still around now, but it was a bit more in date. It was very similar to Osprey. It probably was. I think a lot of the prints were Osprey, but it was a more detailed study. Still wasn't still sort of at a wargamer level as opposed to high academic. But yeah, it was quite good. Had a lot of unit colours, and it set the mood, and no doubt motivated people to become interested in the English Civil War. Philip Haythwaite, is it Haythwaite or Haythwaite or something? But yeah, English Civil War. I remember that very well. And then you had clubs and societies and reenactors and so forth that would all be involved in doing different things, and wargaming. I've got a lot of reenactment friends. I used to do a bit when I was younger as well. Yeah, but now with the internet, life is very much easier. And like I did a presentation a few moments ago on the Essex Miniatures 15mm range. Now it might be quite boring to most people, but if you are particularly interested in getting some Highland Army in 15mm, and then you turn to the Essex page and their miniatures page, and then you realise that there's not a photograph for the Highlanders, unfortunately, but there are for a lot of others, but obviously there's just so many figures they've got. They haven't done the Highlanders, so hopefully my little presentation will be beneficial to somebody, even if it's just one person. That's why I do it. So I'm not at all interested in getting thousands of people or getting lots and lots of people signing up to me. If you do, that's good. But if you don't, or you choose not to anymore, then that's good also. Because you want to spend your time in your life viewing and doing things that you enjoy, and not doing things that you don't enjoy or don't, and a YouTube video, 30 minutes or more sometimes, you've got to use your time well. So try and be selective and view the things you like, and obviously don't mess about with things that you are having watched 30 minutes or whatever long they are, that you actually would wasted time. So I think it's always sad though when there are channels that you like or have enjoyed watching, and then they dry up and you don't hear from them again. And I've got quite a list of channels I've subscribed to who sadly no longer hear from. You don't know if they've had problems or whether it's just they've moved on and decided not to do it anymore. You will never know. So There's quite a few like that, which you think, crikey, wonder what happened to them. And although we're not friends and sort of, related or friend, we're not, we don't know people. We are a community, and it's nice to catch up and hear how people are getting on with projects and so forth. So anyway, it's getting quite late here now, so I'm going to have to pack it in a moment. So just doing another quite big, wide white, like white brims around them all. I'll turn them all down. But it's actually quite good because it does sort of highlight the hats and how they're all slightly different, and, so quite. Sorry, the last one needs a bit work, but I'll be toning them down with red, but that's what toning them down with black. Sorry. Right, as you can see, also I did a bit of painting earlier of the 6mm stuff. Still got a lot to do on them, but just basic coats at the moment. So that's all for my 6mm Africa. So just basic paint up at the moment. These are Heroic and Moss. So yeah, I'll give it till past, and then I'll call it a day. So, and these aren't anyway finished, they're just still got bits to do, but I just thought I'd do the white rims, quite easy to do. And they do set them off nicely. I went to, and it's a shame actually, because I wanted to bring you the footage, but I actually went to Sedgemoor last year, I think it was, and I was driving around the battlefield and the local environments. Went to the churches that went to the church in Bridgewater that one must have apparently spied the King's Army, but there's no way he would have been able to spy. I'm assuming that folklore, or that it was just too far away. He may have seen in the very distance, perhaps tents or something like that, but he wouldn't have seen much about deployments or anything. It was just a long way away. But what I would imagine he perhaps has seen, if it is a true story, this is where he's apparently gone up the tower and viewed the enemy camp in the distance at Westonzoyland. But I think if it is true, as long as these things are proved to be, perhaps he saw patrols of the King's Army, or perhaps Chedsoy. And on that same day, the Chedsoy church was being renovated, and I had the good fortune to be asked and be able to go up into the tower there. And I did actually take some footage of it on the camera, but since the memory card for the camera has since disappeared from the camera. I don't know whether I've taken it out for something else, or my children have, so it's a bit disappointing, because as I say, it's got some footage. I'd probably have to edit it, but his face is a bit yellow, these guys, but it has got some good footage of looking out over the battlefield of Sedgemoor from the excellent vantage point of Chedsoy Church, which no doubt probably was utilised by King's patrols, and I think it was utilised by King's patrols on the actual day of the battle. So, certainly Chedsoy there was a picket and a patrol that were based there. So yeah, worth visiting. I say it might be worth, if you do go to these areas, getting in touch with a local church or whatever, and just see if they can give you access. And say it makes a big difference if you can look over a battlefield from a vantage point of a church tower, as I did at Chedsoy. So it was excellent. There was builders there basically, and they were doing some building work, and I just asked them very kindly if they would mind me just going out and having a quick look, see if I can see the battlefield. And I don't know if they had authority to allow me, but they certainly did, and it was very. I was only there 5 minutes, but it was very interesting, and it was a great highlight of the day really. And they have a nice little museum now at the church at Western Zoyland, which I think has YouTube features on it, but also took a video of that, but which is again is lost on the same memory card. But if once I get to near the end of this project, I will hopefully do a good presentation of all the significant sites, because I have contacts in Lyme Regis, I have contacts in Axminster, I have contacts in Farley Hungerford, which is up near Bristol, and also in Pensford, and I've got a friend who lives in Western Zoyland, so I'm quite spoiled in terms of being able to get to these locations and have somewhere to stay, hopefully. So if I do get near the end, once I get near the end of this, I'll bring you some sort of, this is how it looks today kind of footage perhaps. Anyway, it's now very, very late, and I need to go to sleep, so I will also need to pack up. So I will wish you all a good day tomorrow, and a good night. Andy Mac out.